I have a ton of knowledge I can give out, but you have to start with the fundamentals, the very basics.
Got clutter piling up? FM Junket in Carson, Iowa is your hometown cleanup crew. Fast hauling, fair prices, and now easy dumpster rentals for DIY cleanouts. Your single items to full-on messes, FM Junket gets it done. Call today and breathe a little easier. Hi, welcome once again to Mills County Roots. I'm Carlene Hall, and I'm here today with Travis Waldstein.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you, Travis?
Well, I don't know, besides I'm making faces at the camera, we're doing just fine. So.
You're making faces at the
Oh,
camera?
yeah, well,
Okay,
yeah.
we might as well make this fun. I was, this morning, Travis, I was out at Switch in
Okay.
Mills County, and I met a lady by the name of Brianne who knows you from Iowa Western. She said that you were an adjunct there and you're teaching there?
Yes, that is true.
Okay.
So what other stories did she tell you about me?
That's all
that
we
I
had.
could either confirm or deny.
That's
so.
all we had time to talk about. I said, wow, does he really tame his speech when he's teaching?
Well, right now, as I said, most of the class is my employees, so not a whole lot.
That's what she
So,
said. She goes, well, they're his employees. So I
yeah,
was
right.
like, okay.
Yeah, so there is no filter, but I do recognize it is a college setting, so yeah. No, we're doing it actually at class tonight, and so kind of excited to do some hands-on stuff. Right now, we're going through a math session right now. I'm going to promise I've got a son that has a college degree from the University of Iowa in computer science and math. I failed Algebra 1 in high school.
Oh, wow.
So, well,
Okay.
that was all self done, great. As a freshman in high school in Spencer, Iowa, I may or may not have found a little bit of trouble. I know
Oh,
that probably
well.
shocks everybody.
Well,
but,
Travis, I can't imagine.
but
I can't imagine that you found any trouble. Can't imagine any orneriness.
no, not at all.
Nothing
So,
like that.
but thank God they had career math and career trades because x times y equals 7 doesn't
Huh?
mean it. Yeah, pretty much.
The alphabet and the numbers don't mix for me either, Travis.
No, it just doesn't. I mean, I don't care. They go these formulas and stuff. It's like, listen, when you put letters in the alphabet, it just does not work for me.
Right.
So
Find the variable, right?
yeah, so I said, it is what it is. It's right up there with Canadian tape measures. I just don't use them. So
Oh, the metric?
yeah, I
Is that
call
what
them Canadian.
Yeah,
So
that's funny. I
yeah.
remember when in grade school when the metric system came out, and I had not even thought about that being sent to us from Canada, but it really was. That's kind of where it started, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so them darn Canadians, everybody else in the world thinks we have to use it. So I mean, it's kind of ingrained in our life. I mean, they talk about, I feel vehicle engines. They talk about cubic inch displacement. Now they talk about liters. It's like okay, whatever. So what is a 5.3 liter compared to cubic inch, and if you want to convert it, you can convert it. But there, it's a sell. They can sell it as one deal, and you're supposed to know what is. Most of your stuff is supposed to be metric on vehicles, and you got about half metric and half standard, and you carry both sets of ratchets. I think it's a
Oh,
racket by
that's right.
Snap-on
Oh.
and Craftsman and whoever else to make sure you buy plenty of metric and standard wrenches. It's not a problem.
It's true. Sockets and wrenches, and
Well,
always have two sets, the metrics and the.
Well, you got to have your man.
And the
When you have
standard.
your man cave or your woman cave, whatever you want to call it, you got to have the full tool set. You got to have both sides stacked.
Yeah, I'm working on my she shed and
Are you
and
ordering
my
a she
tool
shed?
collection. Yeah, I pretty much do everything that needs to be done, home maintenance and those kind of things by myself. You would have been really proud of me, Travis. I replaced a faucet in my kitchen, and I had to get down on the floor, lay on my back, reach up behind the sink, and I had to go get a special tool to do that. So
Yeah, well, yeah, unless like you do funky things with your wrist. Yeah, I think I know exactly.
And it was
what
back there tight behind the sink bowl and
Oh yeah.
against the wall. That was quite a challenge. I was kind of proud of
Yeah,
myself for
yeah,
for doing
yeah.
that.
No, I try to stay out of underneath sinks. And there was a time I could, but anymore it's like, nah. It's kind of like a dishwasher. Can I change the dishwasher? Yeah. Do I want to be sitting there flopping around on the ground like a fish changing a dishwasher?
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
not
yeah,
not my thing.
yeah.
If it's my own, yes, I will because I'm cheap. But but it comes to me doing it. That's what I said. There's employees that aren't as I'll say the word physical specimen, but not necessarily in a great way that I am. I guess I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
So,
okay. Yeah, I think it's definitely a job for a young person because it was kind of painful on my back where the floor to the bottom of the cabinet and I had to lean across that, and yeah, it's not comfortable. So, but
it's character building opportunity
it
for you.
was a character building opportunity. I probably sounded a lot like you when I was underneath there.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Swear like a sailor. There you go. So, yeah. So
But
as the memes say, but
yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the trades. Let's talk about what is it that you're teaching right now to the students at Iowa Western?
well, of course we talked about math,
Yeah.
and then right now for our group, we're going through the book stuff. The Department of Labor Apprenticeship has a standard program you go through, and they got so many hours of class time you're supposed to go through, and it's and each one has different levels as far as that's concerned. So we've been going through that, but I believe we have time. So I try to do some hands-on. Right now we're working on basic electrical
Okay.
and basic refrigeration, probably more so the electrical right now because, not necessarily plumbing, but with HVAC and electricity, you have to understand the basic concepts of electricity. Electricity, I mean, you think about this 150 years ago, we didn't have lights in rooms. We were burning with candles, but now it's
Right.
everything. I mean, we got smartphones that can dim the lights and we can do all
Right.
this stuff.
Yeah.
But for what we do, we require basic function. And on a heating air conditioning system, refrigeration system, anything with it, you have to have a basic understanding from anything from 483 phase down to 24 volts AC to 0 to 10 volts DC and how it controls and
Do
how
you
it.
do you see these things flying over the top
Oh
of my
yeah,
head?
well exactly, but that's it's understand basic electrical and what it looks like. What's it look like on paper?
Mm-hmm.
What's it look like? What's it water in front of you? And so that way you can understand the basic operation of it. Because really, when it comes to heating and air conditioning in particular, that's where I started off at. That's what we had to learn that part of it because it's really you can go on and talk about airflow. You can talk about
Mm-hmm.
refrigerant cycle.
Mm-hmm.
You can talk about ductwork and all this other stuff. But realistically, it's the electrical that makes everything go.
Right. Not only that, understanding the risk with electricity
Oh yeah,
because it can get you.
yes it can.
I have great amount of respect for electricity and my lesson came from uh, electric fence. I had the spool of wire in my lap and I was sitting on the ground and we were going up over the gate so the gate wasn't electrified, but somehow the other end of it came down and hit the hot wire
Ooh,
and
ouch.
lit me up with that whole roll of wire in my lap. It was horrible.
Oh, yeah, that takes a 10 watt 10 loop multiplier, and that's so you got a full jolt of that.
And you're in shock. It's like when you grab a hot curling iron, you can't let go because you're just in
Yeah,
shock. And that's how it was. I was just sitting there literally in shock that I was being shocked, and then when I finally got loose from it, then you're mad.
If your heart hasn't stopped, you're mad.
Right.
There you go.
Right.
Uh, yeah, no, you know, you're not wrong. You have to have a healthy respect for. Actually, the worst shock I ever got was from a telephone. Yeah,
Really?
believe it or not, a telephone. This is, you know, of course, everybody's got cell phones now,
Mm-hmm.
but back with, you know, with home phones, still home phone service. I believe the voltage was like 60 volts
Well,
is what they do. And so I was rewiring the telephone wires in a house we were remodeling. So I was hooking it back up. And of course, my sister in law decided to call my wife. At the time, I had my hands around this thing,
oh,
and I
yeah,
got lit up
yeah.
like a Christmas tree, and that knocked me on my
Yikes.
butt.
Yikes. Yeah.
That's it's not a huge. It's never the voltage. It's always the amperage or the current that's passing through you.
Mm,
You know that's the kind of stuff that'll stop your heart. You know, stop your heart.
yeah.
But that was you know, one of my many experiences. So you know. But with what we do, we troubleshoot stuff live, so it has to be working.
Oh, sure.
So, you
Yikes.
know, you have to know where to stick your hands and not where
Mm-hmm.
to stick your hands.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you touch a current, I touch it with the back side of my hand so that way I know to pull away.
Oh, there you
So I
go.
don't
Uh-huh.
grab onto
Uh-huh.
it.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it's another reason you'll never see me wear a ring. It's not because I'm not married, because I'm definitely married. But you know how many guys I've seen either get shocked or get their finger ripped off by
Oh,
moving machinery. I
sure.
just,
Sure.
you know, it's just like it's like wearing jewelry. So,
Right.
you know, it just doesn't, you know, it just doesn't happen. So,
Yeah.
and
I think farmers don't wear their rings either for the same reason. Get hooked
or
and
they look like
right.
that.
Right. So
Yeah,
many things, so many risks with that.
I'll never forget going to some of the old talk shows. Some old boys would be like, "Okay, which finger you missing? Well, I got this caught in a chain, and I got this one bit off by something or
Oh,
whatever else." And then these old boys back 120 years ago, it's be like, "Yeah, if you had all your fingers, you were doing something wrong."
oh, right. Yeah, can you imagine? Like when machinery and tools were a lot more I guess I want rustic. What's the word I'm looking for?
Well, they're not fail
Yeah.
safe. That's for
Yeah,
darn sure.
right.
So,
Right. So,
yeah, yeah.
well,
So,
I think that's fabulous that you are actually taking your life experience and your skills that you've gained and your education and taking it to the classroom. I love that.
well, I think it's important that you do because I mean they you know you have to start somewhere. Am I probably the best teacher? I'd be lying if I thought that I was. You know, and the more I've got into this, it's like, you know, if we're gonna do this, it's like everything else. You have to have the time. You
Hmm.
have to put some effort into it. So it's not something. Yeah, I teach, but like I said, I got to put some time and effort into it too to get stuff out of it.
Sure.
I have a ton of knowledge I can you know give out, but you have to start with the fundamentals, the very basics.
Right.
So that you know that becomes a little bit of a you know a challenge
Hmm.
with where we're at. So, but you know we're definitely working on that.
Hmm.
So, but no, I like I said, I enjoy it a lot. So seeing the guys, and then we can have a talk about some real world stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, what are guys seeing? What you know, I say guys or gals. What are they seeing out there? What's going on?
Hmm.
What do they not know about it? And this is an opportunity to where you can expand,
Yeah.
you know, their horizons a little bit and find out. And you know, here's the deal: they're going to be learning every day for the rest of their life if they're in this trade or any trade.
Sure.
You know, and it's just trying to, you know, get their mind to be able to open up to new experiences, and
Hmm.
you know, and everybody has their own experience. You know, there's some people that have never, you know, been shot. There's some people that have never been exposed to gas. I mean, we deal with gas, we deal with water,
Hmm.
I mean, we deal with everything. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
but it's crazy, is what
Yeah,
it is.
I
So,
love it. This morning there was a presentation that was made by Metro Community College
hmm
at Switch regarding how many kids they'd done this study in California, and out of 100 high school seniors, only 70 of them graduate,
hmm
and only um, like 23 of them go on to get a bachelor's degree,
Mm-hmm.
and only 7 of them wind up with a job to use their bachelor's degree.
Oh, that don't surprise me at all.
7%. So there's so many kids that are being forced into 4-year college, or they think that's the path they want to take because they're not being exposed to these things. They're not finding their gifts and their talents and their desires. And tradesmen are making a lot more than people out here with 4-year degrees
Yeah, absolutely.
because our country is in a deficit for tradesmen.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just want to beat this drum. My son was he has a construction company. He's a general contractor in Kalispell, Montana. But his path, he grew up going to high school down in Tabor, and he worked for many of the men in the trades down there, construction trades, and learned everything from pouring concrete, laying block, all the way up. He did some of the carpentry work, all the way to
Mm-hmm.
roofing, inside, outside, siding. He did all of that while he was in high school, so he had all of that great guidance.
Mm-hmm.
Football was the only reason he ever was in the classroom, I guarantee you. And
Yeah.
he chased that dream and went to Iowa Western. And thank goodness, because he got an associate degree there and then went on to Wyoming chasing that football dream.
Good for him.
Yeah. And then after he was done there, he got into construction. And I think he even got into a construction management program.
Mm-hmm.
So for him, it's like a long way around, full circle to come right back to the trades. And he's really crafty. He's a wonderful craftsman, and he's an artist. He makes furniture out of logs, and he does one of the I'm really proud of this. One of the remodels he did was a high-end home that wound up featured in a magazine.
Well, there you go.
So yeah, it's really cool to see him go out there. He's in Montana now and loving it and loving what he's doing. But the problem is he cannot keep good health,
Yeah.
which is the problem for every business owner regarding the trades.
It's a challenge. Like I said, it's what you read on the news, it's even worse. There's several things going on. So uh, change in mindset. You have a new generation that's coming out now. That's 18 to 23 years old. That the mindset continues to change. The how schools teach them is changing as far as the parent involvement. It changes.
Mm-hmm.
What I see a lot of, and I'm not against sports. I mean, my kids played football and wrestled growing up, and I did the same thing. But I see the advent of club teams, and you have to do this and you have to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and you got 14, 15 years old, 16 years. They're in something all the time. They
Mm-hmm.
got to be in a
Mm-hmm.
kind, and I'm not sure if it's the kid or the adults or a little bit of both.
Right, right. Well, I think it is, and everything they do has to have a pair of shoes. There was a running joke in our house when the kids were growing up. We got shoes for walking, shoes for talking, shoes for football, shoes for cheerleading, shoes for basketball, shoes for wrestling. It was $100 every time you turn around for a pair of shoes.
Yeah, it's hard to find people. There's integrity, accountability, and responsibility are all three things, and like I said, the, those are all three hard traits, and in today's world, I think there's stuff that is lacking in our society to some level. And I'm not knocking anybody, but I mean, it's just, when you're in a customer's home and business, it's kind of like, how do you act when nobody's around? You know what I'm saying? When you're out representing the company,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
are you doing stuff right, or you taking shortcuts? are you accountable for your actions? Here's my thing: you're going to make mistakes in the trades.
Right.
I mean, it happens. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you talk to a carpenter will probably tell you, hey, but this new homes, it's being able to hide. Hey, we had this happen, but we were able to cover it up, and nobody knows it except for the guy who built the darn thing.
Uh,
And he could probably walk in. You'd ask your son about it. You'd probably say,
yeah,
I could walk in 30 years later and say, hey, I can remember when this happened, and
sure.
nobody would even know what you're talking about. But that builder
Mm-hmm.
might remember, X, Y, Z, and
Mm-hmm.
then, taking responsibility for your actions, good, bad, or indifferent, and, getting kids that want to learn, want to show up. I say kids, young adults. That's probably that's the thing. It's so much of a, you know, what priority is. It's been almost 100 years since we've been through a depression, and we've been
Mm-hmm.
through some recessions,
Mm-hmm.
but we've been through a depression where you've lost everything. Now there's
Right.
segments of society you can argue that now, and I'm not trying to get political or anything here, but we are, as a society, it's been overall pretty good for a long time, and so some of the families have not had to suffer maybe like they did during the Great Depression. They
Yeah.
didn't have to skip and save for what little they had. Mom and dad didn't have a credit card they could just run up. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
I
I
mean,
do.
and so that makes a huge difference as far
Yeah.
as how you look at stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, that's another a good thing that you can teach these students that you're teaching is that financial responsibility because there's always the credit card, right? Well, no, you make this money, you put some aside for a rainy day, you make sure you're able to build yourself from there and it's an opportunity for you as a person with and you know built your business yourself from scratch and you've got to buy equipment and you've got to do your marketing and there's a lot of expenses and so budgeting is real important and because of your experience you have real life experience that you can share with these young adults and I think that's wonderful and I love the fact that they are taking professional people and putting them in the classroom to teach
mm,
because I think that's just I mean that's so much more effective than learning something out of a book.
oh yeah, you can only learn so much of it, but you can go out and
Mhm.
experience it. That's the only way. But that's the cool part about trade. That's the cool part about life in general is learn from expenses, good, bad, or indifferent. So,
Mhm.
I would be transparent. We've been trying to scale, the last couple of years in particular,
Mhm.
and and if you understand anything about scaling, there's nothing easy about scaling a business,
Mhm.
and unfortunately, some lessons you never thought you'd have to learn, as a small business owner, as you continue to grow your business. You know, I've had some stuff happen where you just kind of shake your head, but
Mhm.
but you have to continue on with that and understand that people are people. People make mistakes or they make decisions that are best for
Sure.
them. So, but
Yep. People move, people change, equipment breaks down.
yeah, absolutely, and you never know what another person's situation is until you've walked in their shoes. You never know what their situation is.
That's
So,
exactly
yeah,
right.
yeah, you can never judge. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it's and that's really good that you can have those conversations with those people while you're teaching them
mm,
the details and the skills for the job. There's so much more
yeah,
that you can bring to the table.
yeah, and sometimes it's unpopular conversation, but the thing is, in life, you gotta be willing to sometimes have that little bit of an uncomfortable situation
Mhm.
to put yourself out of push yourself out of your comfort level a little bit, if you know what
Mhm.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I've had several conversations in my life that are uncomfortable and but you I think the I think the most important thing is when those conversations happen that both sides can learn something from those conversations and take it forward. with them. And I think that's a good thing about no matter what we're doing, it's going to boil down to the human element, the human contact, the relationship, and
Oh, absolutely, 100% without a doubt. So,
yeah,
so
and I think that is something that's very important to teach early on as well
yeah,
in a career.
yep, definitely have to. But yeah, that's interesting. Only 77%. So, well, it's
That's
like,
the state of California. That's where his stats came from. But isn't that interesting?
well, yeah, well, like I said, that's. I think that you take that. I mean, besides California, you probably take that country. You know, across the country, that number's probably a lot closer.
It probably
It,
is.
yeah, because when you got 30 some million people like they do, and I don't know how tight, but even if they sampled 300,000 or whatever it is, that's probably a pretty, yeah, that's scary to think about
Yeah.
actually. So,
But I'll tell you something. I lived in California
I'm sorry.
and I lived in Memphis, Tennessee, and I
Uh,
lived in Kansas City. And I can tell you that when I would apply for jobs, I was hired because I had a farm background, because I had a rural background, because that equates a work ethic. And people understand the value of a rural work ethic. Employers understand the value of a rural work ethic. And when I'm thinking about Mills County roots and I'm thinking about where we're reaching people all over Mills County and Glenwood and Malvern and part of Council Bluffs as well. But I'm thinking about the opportunity for a college, a junior college, or a trade school to sponsor this show because we're reaching, gosh, Travis, in the last 28 days, we've had 60,000 views.
wow, that's crazy.
I know. And it's exciting. It's exciting that it's happened. And since we started at the end of January, we have close to 160,000.
Yeah, that's a lot of views.
It is a
So,
lot of views. It's a
yes.
lot of views, and there's a lot of engagement there. And that's only the Facebook numbers. It's not counting the
YouTubes or whatever
YouTube
else.
and
Right? So,
Spotify or any of the audio podcast platforms where this is going out.
I noticed you're not on X yet because I went to read about Hawkeye Russell
Oh,
and you're not on X.
not on
So,
X?
not on X, yeah. So yeah, let's if I want to get news, that's where I go because Lord knows there's gonna be no filters there.
Oh
So,
yeah, I know.
yeah, and like oh yeah, and not that I'm looking for filters. I just want information.
You want the truth?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
even truth. It's just it's information.
Information,
It
unfiltered.
It depends on what
Yeah.
side of it you want to believe.
That's
the
true.
truth. So,
That's true.
but-
Oh my gosh, we can't even get into that conversation and the misinformation and the information wars. That you just the old adage: do your own research.
Yeah.
Do your own
Well,
research.
let's say,
It has become an adage now.
it's a whole lot easier just to go ask the source. And sometimes I've done this. Is okay. I'll ask the question. Nobody else will, and they'll let you go. Well, and they go, okay. You want to hear the rest? Yeah, I want to hear the rest of the story. I'll hear the rest of the story. It's like okay. That makes a whole lot more sense. So, there's always one person's story. There's always someone else's story. Then there's usually it's somewhere in the middle.
In between.
Yeah, somewhere in between. Yeah. It's never as goofy one way or the other way. And so you gotta kind of so I never get too excited. I might have something to say, but then I'll listen to the other person's perspective. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
I can understand that. So
Yeah.
but.
Yep. Sometimes and sometimes you can and sometimes you can't.
Yep. So, but so I was going to ask you since I know you're in Mills County now. I hear that they're going to be extending that expressway that's there off of basically not the Glen, is it the, let's see, the bridge that goes over to Nebraska.
Okay.
Yeah, the Glenwood.
On 34 highway?
Yeah, 34.
Uh-huh.
I hear you're going to be extending that expressway clear out to I-80 as a bypass. Is that the one?
Oh, I haven't. That would be Platteview Road
Yeah,
all the
they're
way.
talking about so it'd be like a bypass to Omaha from the south.
Well, when it comes to, is it 84th? It comes
Well,
to a T.
yeah, right now it's like it goes over and it hits basically Highway 75, and then it's got an overpass, but then it
Right.
stops right there. And I think they're talking about
Yeah.
extending that all the
All
way
the way.
out. Yeah, so I didn't know if you've had any
But
discussions about that, if anybody, and what that might mean for the long term.
that's on the Nebraska side right there.
But
Yeah.
think about, but they're all
Yeah.
good, but a lot of
Yeah.
them are going to be getting off at that Glenwood exit right
Right.
there, and all that
Yeah.
ground there, and how that's going to possibly economically impact. I think probably in a very positive way.
That bridge is already impacting in a very positive way.
Well, that's what I said,
Yeah.
and if you have that bypass go through,
Hmm.
what's it going to do long term, for commerce, right,
Hmm.
right along there. I was kind of curious if you've had any conversations about
I
that.
have not. When I'm thinking about that being Platteview Road, where 34 ends, right?
Yeah,
And then that becomes Platteview Road, and it goes all the way down to 84th,
fourth,
where there's a T. So
yeah,
I don't know where it would connect to I-80 because it's quite a ways
oh yeah.
either direction from that T to I-80.
What did they say? Like I said, I don't know all the details on, but there was something about it on the news the other night. I was reading just a little bit about it. I'm sitting there going, yeah, because there's word that it's going to bypass Council Bluffs. I said, there's plenty of that traffic that's
Mm,
bypassing Council Bluffs, and who
hmm,
wants to drive I-80 through Omaha anyway? It's
mm-hmm.
terrible. So
Wow,
that's why I was kind of curious to see, because that would be a huge.
interesting.
There's already a lot of stuff going on, along Highway 370, but down there on
Hmm.
34 is an area to where, as long as the Corps of Engineers doesn't decide to flood it every few years, oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yeah.
you did, and my son-in-law works for the Corps of
Well,
Engineers,
well,
so.
good. He can yell at me, so that's all right. But
Well, where's the water going to go?
yeah,
I mean, it's coming from Dakotas.
yeah, well, they got to keep Gavin's point up, but
Yeah.
that's a story for another. But no, in all seriousness, if they could build that area up, I think it's an area that it's been available for years. So I think you're probably gonna see that western along 29 there and along 34 and 370 continue to develop because
Hmm.
of some of the changes. I think it should be exciting for if you're looking 5 or 10 years down the road.
I'll have to look into that and see what's being said about that. I haven't seen anything about it
Uh,
at this point, but it'll be interesting to check into that and watch that development, see what
See,
happens.
now I get you something to go chase after. So
Oh yeah.
there you go. That's the kind of person I am. So.
Oh my gosh. Protect what matters most. Level up your protection with Snowy Owl Security. Ryan Haig delivers smart monitoring, advanced systems, and real-time alerts that keep your home or business one step ahead. Stay secure with Snowy Owl Security. Well, Travis, let's talk a little bit about your two businesses that
Oh
you've got
Lord.
going.
Okay.
Just let's just touch on them, just because I want to continue to put that information out about what you're doing,
Okay.
and because I appreciate you sponsoring Mills County Roots,
Mm-hmm.
and so let's talk about what you do and
So okay, well let's talk about that. So air
okay.
serve heating, air conditioning, Council Bluffs, but it originally was air serve of Southwest Iowa, and I'd have people from Clarinda and Creston and all these other places. We decided
Oh,
we had to narrow that down a little bit. Not that I don't
okay,
mind running service calls at Creston, but with me living in Council Bluffs, it didn't make a whole lot of sense.
sure.
So air serve Council Bluffs. So basically, our focus is Potawatomi, Mills County. Let's say we do quite a bit of service rural Mills County. We get down to Glenwood a lot. Shoot, I've got on the HVAC side, I've got Kelly and Luke Barrett that they both live in the city of Glenwood. They both own houses down there and
Hmm.
work. And I've got at least one other. One of my other guys, Gavin, is from Glenwood too. Gavin Arbogast. Him and Luke graduated together. I've got one other person, and then Waldstein Plumbing, same thing. We cover basically the same basic area.
Hmm.
Area. We don't maybe go as far east on the plumbing side, so we'll go out. We'll go out to Trainer, Carson, we don't travel as far on the plumbing side just because of the size of business that we are. But same thing. We're doing a lot of work in Council Bluffs, Glenwood, Pottawatomie, Mills County. I mean, to kind of get you an idea, I know we've done some remodels, we've done some, sewer. We were doing some work on Locust Street down at Glenwood the other day. I know because my son was by himself and I yelled at him because he didn't have an apprentice with him on the main thoroughfare in Glenwood. But yeah, we do work. Actually, we just hired a new plumber actually from Glenwood. Thad, I'm trying to remember what his last name is. I'm terrible, but he's been in the plumbing business for 30 years. We've had the opportunity to bring him on. So,
Oh, great.
so we've actually got three, four, we got quite a few people at Glenwood roots. And honestly, if you know where I live, I live. I don't live in town. I'm 7 miles from downtown Council Bluffs. I'm 11 miles from downtown Glenwood. I'm technically closer to Mineola than I am anything, but I have a Council Bluffs address. With where my house is and where I'm at, southern Pottawatomie County and Mills County are basically in my backyard. I mean, the back roads is 4 miles to Lake Ohana.
Yeah.
So
Now I see your vans around a lot, your trucks, air serve, and are these employees, are they equipped? They're already in town down there and they live there. They drive your vehicle equipped with tools to go do jobs right there where they live.
It's kind of expensive to have them down there and not have tools to do their job. So yeah, no, the guys that do, like I said, the guys that are that we do work down at Glenwood, we do that. I know. We try to keep them down. It makes sense, especially if they're in the community. We want them to be involved. We try to do that. If they have their guys. I mean, if they live in Carson and we're doing a job, or I want the guy that lives in town to be over there. That's my preference if we can. So,
now your offices, however, are right in Council Bluffs.
Yes, my
proper.
offices. If anybody knows me, I'm a huge Iowa fan, and my offices are on Nebraska Avenue. You don't know how bad that pains me. So, but yes, you can have fun with it. So, but the new mayor has been willing to switch it to Hawkeye Avenue or Iowa Avenue. Yes.
Oh, okay. Maybe you can talk her into that.
I doubt it. It's been Nebraska Avenue for a long time, but no. So my shop's on Nebraska Avenue. If you get off the Ameristar exit on I-29. The nice part is from there, though, we can get anywhere, in southwest Iowa, the Glenwood, Underwood, Trader, Missouri Valley, any of them. We can get there, 25 minutes. It's not a bad drive.
Right.
It's really not a bad drive. So, which makes it nice. And like I said, for everybody, we have guys spread out over the 2-county area, here in Council Bluffs, down in Glenwood, out in the county, so that's the nice part is we've got somebody close. So if there is something that comes up, if we need to get a hold of a person on the weekend, we have that ability as well. So.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm going to circle back real quick to Switch.
Yes.
Southwest Iowa Technical Careers Hub.
Okay. Is that a Malvern?
It is not. It's out. It's Hastings, I think, proper, but it's on 34 east of Malvern.
Okay, that's where the old school is.
Nishna Valley School.
Yep, I know. Yeah. Okay, I'm thinking the same place. I keep thinking that's a Malvern, but no, you're right. That is technically
Well,
Hastings.
you have to get out there and see it. It's amazing.
That's what I've heard.
What all they're doing out there. It really is amazing, and you have to get out there and see it. You'll really appreciate what's going on out there. They've got one room where they're teaching HVAC.
That's what I've heard.
And they have all of the units right there, and the students are learning about them. And I saw some on the middle tables. They have some. They had some copper tubing where they were, it'd be like for the water, and then I saw some electrical circuits that they had built and teaching electricity there. So that it's that's really cool. And then Iowa Western is teaching CNA classes there.
I knew
So
that
they
too.
have all the beds there with the Annies in them, and they're, and yeah, that's really good. And then Clarkson College is there
Oh,
also.
really?
And I know
Wow.
they're teaching CPR. They're probably teaching more than that. But the one thing I picked up from what Katie was talking to me about was CPR classes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, that's huge, especially in a rural community. If you get, the thing, especially with out there in that area, when you're doing stuff, not only they learn a trade, but hopefully you'll get a percentage of them, the young adults or the people that go through classes that they'll stick around.
Yes.
And that's probably the biggest thing. We've had, I mean, if you look at Iowa going back to the 80s compared to now, I remember when the 90s when they talked about the ICN network. You have to have the communications network so you can teach classes, you can
Mm-hmm.
do whatever. Now the state of Iowa wants to sell the ICN because now it's more maintenance than what it's worth.
Ah.
But now with, fiber in all the communities and all the homes, I mean, you can have the same internet at my house out in the country that you can have, right next to CenturyLink here in Castle. Well, it's maybe better if you want to be transparent about it, to where you're able to do e-commerce, you're able to do stuff, and what's allowed, and I think this is huge for your
Oh.
rural community to keep people. You don't have to leave. You don't have to drive into Omaha. You don't
Right.
have to drive to Des Moines or Lincoln
Mm-hmm.
or anywhere else to do business. You can literally do it, in your office, in your house. And
Right.
if you're good
Yeah.
at something, you can do a certain part of business. And what that does is it helps keep people in the community that might otherwise move on, for
Sure.
opportunity. And so, I mean, corn and soybeans is great, but you want people to stay in the community and be able to have a
Mm-hmm.
career and have a life and do something that they want to do.
Yeah.
But some people they want to be able to stay there too. I mean, if you're into the city life, more power to you. I
Right.
mean, I need cornfields between me and my neighbors, but yeah.
I'll be very interested to see what the 5-year impact is on the communities
Hmm.
of Mills County from Switch and the surrounding areas,
Hmm.
because I have a feeling there's going to be a huge impact.
Hmm. Oh, 100% it has to be. The big thing is getting the young adults to want to buy in that they want to do it and that realize they don't have to go to school. And nothing against going to a 4-year school or even 2-year school. I mean, I went to a 2-year school for heating and air conditioning back 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've got nothing against, if it's in Iowa Western, I know is got a 1-year program right now, and I know they're working hard with that program to get accredited and do some different stuff, which I think is fantastic.
The really cool thing, like from an economic standpoint, as a parent, when these kids are in high school, they can go take those college classes out there, and it's not costing them any money.
Yeah. Well, unless your kid takes 23 credit hours because they only pay for 15. You know how to.
Oh,
I got to write that check one year.
oh, oh,
There is a max on the number of credit you take. I learned that one.
oh,
Yeah, not too
okay.
many people know. I learned that one the hard way. Now maybe that's changed, but this was back 10 years
So were
ago.
some of those credits from the high school?
They were all college.
Okay,
Harley his junior year he had taken 23 credit hours. Now he was a high school junior.
okay.
Iowa Western allowed him to take 23 credit hours.
Wow.
Yeah, and they paid for 15. I had to write the check for the
Okay,
other 8. As I go
okay.
and I said, why am I paying for, wasn't, they said, yeah, this capped out here. He says, these are the 8 hours that you're paying. I'm like, are you kidding me? Of course, he passed. I'm
If
like,
he would have just waited, the Marine Corps would have paid for
well,
him.
that's hated. Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. This is Harley.
Oh,
This is Harley.
okay.
It's like going, oh my God, it's only money. So, but
Yeah.
yeah. So,
That's good. He was way ahead of the game, though.
when he did because he graduated from Iowa West with a math degree in 2016, and before I graduated high school, and it was almost unheard of at that time. And they're like, the kind well, you can't push. I was like, I wasn't pushing him at all.
Yeah.
This was on him.
Uh-huh.
He
Uh-huh.
want he this is what
He's
he
an
wanted to
achiever.
do, and he wanted to get it done. And so he got it done. I mean, he graduated from Iowa. He was done at Iowa before he was 21 years old.
Wow.
And so you take a look at that, and now he's what 20, be 29 in August, and he's working out at Amazon, making doing a very good. And for him, he wanted to be a programmer. He's that type of kid.
Okay.
But it's one of just. But now you take a look at 10 years ago, it's like, oh my God, you can't do that to. They're encouraging these students to want to be able to get in, and whether they want to get into a trade or go on. They're taking the brakes off, which I think if you have high achievers, I think they should have that ability to advance.
Let that pony run.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Well, Travis, you have two.
Yeah, what's that?
You two children, right?
I have 3 children.
You have 3. Okay,
yeah.
So there's Hayden, Harley,
and then I got Hunter.
Hunter.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Hayden runs the plumbing business. He's got twin. He's a twin. Has twin boys.
Oh.
Yeah. If everybody sees picture of Facebook, he's got a redhead twin that his mom didn't want to cut the hair, and I gave his mom a picture of Jennings Dunker, and I said, "You need to have this as a haircut." And she went, got it. I'll give her credit.
Did she?
Oh yeah. He just doesn't have quite the curls, but looks a lot like Jennings. And then I got Emmett, and so his wife Erica works at Jenny, and then Harley lives out in Seattle. He's a programmer for Amazon. Has a great job.
Okay.
With that, he's been out there for. It's been almost 5 years now, so he's bought a place out there. He's done really well. Then my youngest Hunter, he graduated in 2022 from Lewis Central. He played football and wrestled just like Hayden did in high school, and he was one of the team captains on the first state title football team. So, and I think you might have a helmet of his in one of the other rooms.
Oh
up
yeah,
here.
In our sports room.
Yeah, so
that's great.
But he's a Marine. He's an air traffic controller in the Marine Corps. He's been almost at 4 years. He's got another year in enlistment, but he's talking about he wants to come back and be part of the family business.
Okay,
and then
so he's still active duty.
Yeah, he's still active duty. He's got just over a year. Then, of course, then I got his mother, their mother that puts up with me. So she's a ICU nurse at Jenny, and she's 5'2", redhead. And, if you wonder where the orneriness comes from, it's not from me, it's from her. So I'm going to call it as it is. So.
Yeah, I hope someday I get to meet her because she sounds like a pretty cool lady.
Cool's one way to describe it. Unless she's mad at you,
then that's not cool. Huh?
Yeah, it's not cool. I said, my kids ain't scared of too many people. They're scared of mom though. So when mom's mad, oh boy, watch out. So
she garners some respect.
Well, yeah.
And that's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah, so it is a good thing. So.
Yeah. Well, Travis, thank you again for being here with me on Mills County Roots. Always a pleasure to visit with you and get your perspective on different things in your business, in teaching the trades, and just in the world in general. I think a lot of you, and you remind me a lot of a lot of the great men in my life who were father figures years ago. You're not that you're old enough to be a father figure. I think you're younger than me.
Yeah.
But you remind me of those men in my life. So I really appreciate that. I think a lot of you.
Unfortunately, I think some days I'm becoming the old soul, but it is. Problem is, in my mind, I'm still that 21, 22-year-old kid, but my body's not. My body, when I look in the mirror, I'm not seeing it. It's like, it's a lot like my grandpa in the mirror. It's like, but I guess that's what age does to you.
It does. We just have to embrace it and be grateful.
Oh, absolutely.
And just be grateful. Well, thank you again, and thank you for joining us again for Mills County Roots, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See ya.